Hi, I'm Anna, and this is Tucker, and we hope you're having a great day. Today's video is about 3 really great arcs that I have been able to read that are all publishing this month in February 2026 that I think you might like to go out and read. So I'm going to talk about those books for a few minutes, and then stay tuned to the end of the video if you want to hear a little Life channel update from me and you're interested in knowing kind of where I've been, because I know in the last video I said I was going to be more consistent, and I haven't because life happened. Anyways, let's get to those 3 books. So 2026 is off to a bit of a slow reading start for me. I've had a lot of things happen that I will go into later in the video, but the good news is that I have recently finished reading 3 arcs that are publishing this month in February 2026 that I think were fantastic and that you should check out yourselves. 2 of them are thrillers and 1 of them is a historical fiction, which, by the way, is probably my favorite read in the last few months at least. So I'm going to go through the 2 thrillers first and kind of go in chronological order of publishing date, and I'll hit that historical fiction at the very end. So my brain's having a little bit of a memory issue lately, so I have to refer to my notes, which, by the way, I created a new note for myself just for this video, but then I didn't prompt my phone with it for some reason. I'm super prepared, in case you're curious. All right, so the first book that I have is one of the thrillers that I read, and it published on February 10th, so it is out now, just in time for Valentine's. And that book is How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shailee Thompson. So this book is a fantastic read for the upcoming Valentine's Day holiday if you like your Valentine's a little bloody. So this is a thriller, but I would categorize it as a genre mashup. It's a dark romantic comedy with a heavy dose of slasher film thrown in. It's very meta, I think, honestly, because it follows 2 young ladies who are on this single scene in New York City. We have Jamie, who is a grad student, movie buff, definitely into all kinds of movies, but in particular, she's into slasher films. And she's into figuring out how to survive them. She's writing a whole thesis on it. And then she's got her best friend and roommate, Lori. They sign up for a speed dating event in the middle of New York City, and on the night, it's held, they show up at this event. They're all, decked out in their, fancy dresses and whatever. And so they show up to this building that looks familiar, but they can't quite place it until a little bit later. It turns out it's a club that they used to frequent all the time that has probably changed ownership, changed hands, whatever. It looks a little different, but they do recognize it. So the thing about this speed dating event is that when they show up, they have to hand over all of their electronic devices, their phones, their whatever, and it goes into a lockbox. So not only is it just kind of hidden away in the coat check, it's in a locked box. 10 guys, 10 girls, they have social hour for the hour before, and then they do the speed dating round. And sometime during the speed dating, I think it's like there's an intermission halfway through, and then they pick it up on the second half. The lights go out. There's a lot of noises, a lot of screaming, a lot of shuffling. The lights come back on, and there are several dead bodies. And so Jamie now has to put her surviving a slasher movie rule set to the test. Do these rules that she's figured out from watching movies really help you survive a slasher movie, serial killer, locked room situation? And so it is very much a locked room mystery, except it's a locked club instead of a room. But it's a rat maze, it's dark, there are no doors. The one door that they know of, which is the front door, is bolted shut. All of the staff that happens to be there, they are all dead. And they're trying to find their way out. And like any good group ensemble, not everybody is on the same page as far as how to survive the killer. So I loved this book. I rated it a 4.5 paws. I mean, honestly, it could be a 5 paw read if I'm like if I wanted to stretch it. I just think I knocked it down a half paw simply because it didn't grab me right away. It was a little slow to start for me, but once it got going, it really got going, and then it was all good. So this is definitely like a medium-paced thriller, especially in the first half. Then it gets going, and then, you know, it picks up the pace. So if you're okay with thrillers that are not super duper fast-paced, you're okay with going a little slower in the beginning, then you're gonna love this book. The other thing that I want to note is that, I don't know about you, but this cover, when I look at it, you know, kind of seems like maybe there's some lightheartedness going on, that maybe this isn't, you know, a super dark thriller. Don't be fooled. That's not the case. This is a dark thriller. There is some gore for sure. So, and there's a few scenes in particular that I can like recall that I'm thinking of specifically. I won't say what those are, but you know, it's definitely like a 4 to 5 on the gore scale at certain points in the book. This also being a romance, there is a little bit of spice, not a lot, just a scene or two, and it's not overdone, and it all makes sense. It's not gratuitous or anything like that. So those are kind of my my warnings to you. But overall, it's a really fun book to read. If you are on the single scene this Valentine's Day and you're looking for reasons to stay single, read this book this weekend, because this will keep you out of the dating game for at least a month after you read this book. If that's what you're looking for this Valentine's, pick that one up. It is fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. All right, and the next thriller I want to talk to you about is publishing on February 24th, and that is How to Get Away with Murder by Rebecca Philipson. So this one I rated a solid 4 paws. It was a very good read. I enjoyed it quite a bit. This is also another meta type thriller, except this one is a story within a story, or a book within a book, if you will. So the structure of this book is kind of a dual perspective, I guess. It's not really a dual timeline per se. Yeah, it's more dual perspective over dual timeline. But the chapters alternate between the present day and kind of what is going on with our main character and the book, How to Get Away with Murder. And I'll explain that to you in just a second. So the main story follows a London detective, a Scotland Yard detective named Sam. She is out on disability and has been for quite a while. She was assaulted by a fellow officer, and you know, it gave her some PTSD and some other very debilitating symptoms, and so she hasn't been able to work. But her boss and godfather comes to her and says, listen, we just had a murder pop up. There's a teenage girl who was murdered very mysteriously. I need my best detective back on the case. So please come back to work, even though I know you are not ready to come back to work. He's a very much like all about me kind of guy, but that's beside the point. All right, so she agrees to go back to work. It's supposed to be part-time, but it kind of turns into like an obsession for her. She's definitely not ready. She's dealing with all kinds of symptoms from PTSD and her own trauma while trying to, find the killer. And when she's brought back, she's given a very special task because the girl was found with a very peculiar item, and that is a book called How to Get Away with Murder. And so Sam is tasked with figuring out who the author of this book is and whether or not what the allegations are in the book, whether or not they are true. So this book is a how-to guide for aspiring serial killers from a serial killer who has yet to be caught. And so the overall book is structured such that we get a Sam chapter, and then we get a chapter from the How to Get Away with Murder, and then we get another Sam chapter, and it keeps alternating for about 2/3 of the book like that. So every time we get the book within the book chapter, we get a little more insight into the person who wrote it. And the guy's creepy. I'm gonna be honest. But he's like very full of himself. He mentions a bunch of other very famous serial killers and how he relates to them. It's very fascinating from a psychological perspective. And so, we're kind of leapfrogging back and forth. Sam is trying to figure out, okay, who wrote this book? Does this guy really exist? Did this guy really commit murders? Is this guy really a serial killer? How much of this is true? How much of this isn't? Because in the book, he talks about murders that he supposedly committed. And so, you know, on the surface, she's got one investigation going on, but under the surface, she's actually got like 3 investigations going on. And it's very fun. A lot of it takes place in London, but some of it takes place in the outer parts of the UK. And so there's, you know, a bit of travel. If you like books that take place in the UK, this is a fantastic pick. The reason why it was only 4 paws for me and it wasn't really higher are just a couple of really personal nitpicky things. One is the ending kind of felt a little flat for me, but I don't mean it in the way that you might think. I can't quite put my finger on it. So there's a couple of twists at the end. They're very good twists. They make a lot of sense. You know, there's a lot of proper red herrings and breadcrumbs throughout the book. The author does a very good job of laying the foundation. So the ending definitely does not feel like it's coming out of left field. It doesn't feel rushed or anything of that nature. It maybe just made a little too much sense to me, if you kind of can see what I'm getting at. Like, twists sometimes don't fully make sense. They make like 90% sense, right? Like you can kind of see how they got there, but there's a little bit of like mental gymnastics that kind of has to happen. I think in this one, there really aren't any mental gymnastics that need to happen. It all completely 100% makes sense. And I see how that ending ended up the way that it did. And I think it's meant to be far more surprising than it really is. So maybe that reveals more about my personal character and how I think than anything else. But when I read the ending, I was like, of course that's what happens. Of course, because that's what I do. So if you pick this book up and you read from start to finish, you'll get a little insight into how my psychology works in my head. The other thing that threw me off just a teeny bit, and again, I think this is a personal thing, not necessarily anything that would bother anyone else. The Sam chapters are done in present tense, and the book chapters are done in past tense. And so it's a little jarring to go back and forth between present tense and past tense. I did get used to it eventually, but just from a personal standpoint, I don't particularly like present tense books, present tense narration all that much. So I think I just was like always kind of never gonna love that particular aspect of it. I tried really hard to like it. And I know that it's kind of in vogue these days to write from a present tense situation, but every time I pick up a present tense book, I'm like, oh, I can't. It's very, very hard for me, and I don't know what it is. I really don't. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you like present tense? Do you think that that is a mode that's going to stick around, or do you think it's kind of a fad and it's not going to stick around? It's going to kind of go away again, and most narrations are going to go back to being past tense. Let me know in the comments below what you think, because I think that that is a really interesting kind of discussion point that could be had. But overall, I think it's a really interesting read. It's definitely a unique premise, and the mystery is very good. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to love in this book. So I highly recommend it, especially if you're in kind of a thriller meta mood. Definitely go check that one out. Okay, and the last book I have to recommend that is publishing this month is also coming out on February 24th, and it is a historical fiction novel. It is Cleopatra by Saara El-Arifi, and I do apologize if I am not pronouncing the author's name exactly correct. I do the best I can. So I know that on my channel, I haven't really mentioned historical fiction all that much. I've been trending towards thrillers and classics a lot lately, but I would like to say that traditionally speaking, I love historical fiction. When I was younger, I read a lot of it. To the point where I get a little obsessed with historical fiction. I love it so much. I haven't been reading a lot of it lately simply because for me, it's a little harder for my brain. And the way my brain is, it's on the level of high fantasy sometimes. For me, I can't read it too easily. And so I'm a little gun shy with it. But when I saw Cleopatra up as an ARC for, early reading on NetGalley, I had to request it. And I was very pleasantly surprised that I was chosen to be an early reader for this book because it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite reads of the last several months. It is about Cleopatra. It's told from her perspective as if it were an autobiography. It's told in the first person, very similar to Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, where every once in a while Cleopatra speaks to the reader directly, which doesn't happen too often in books and can be a little overwrought and overdone if it's not done well. But the author does this very, very well. She only speaks to the reader a handful of times, and every time she does, it makes complete sense. On top of historical fiction, I personally really love ancient Egyptian history. I love the myths. I love the actual history. It's in the same boat as ancient Greece, although I think I love ancient Egypt more than ancient Greece, but I love Greek mythology a little bit more than Egyptian mythology. I don't know. So I was really excited to get a glimpse into what Cleopatra's life might be like because she was the last ancient Egyptian pharaoh to exist. And her legend is shrouded in a lot of mystery, especially how she died. And so the author, it's very clear that the author did a ton of research. In fact, I think there's an author's note in there that says that she wrote her master's thesis on Cleopatra. And so I think, all of her research that she had to do for her studies got poured over into this book. And it's very clear that it's very well researched. There's a lot of politics in there, which definitely makes sense. And I had a little trouble keeping track of all the politics, but again, I think that's a me issue and my brain just not being able to track that as well as I used to versus it not being explained very well. I don't think that's the case at all. So you shouldn't shy away from it if you're worried about the politics, but it's such a rich tale. The author really makes Cleopatra feel like a real person. Even though it is historical fiction, there is a small speculative element that comes into play all throughout the book, and it's very well done, and it contributes to a bit of a twist at the end, which I didn't see coming at all, but once it was revealed, it all made sense to me. I was like, oh, of course, that's what all that was. So the breadcrumbs were there the entire time. And so that made it very fun and it made sense. So if you love historical fiction, if you love ancient Egypt, if you love Cleopatra, you should definitely go out and get this book because it is fantastic. All right, so that's what I have for you as far as book reviews and books you should go read this month. If you're interested in reading my written reviews, I will leave a link to my Goodreads account below, and you can go read, the words that I wrote, which is basically what I told you verbally, but, I might have left something out. I don't know. It's been a while. Except for the one I wrote this morning. But otherwise, it's been a while since I've looked at the other two, so I can't quite remember what I said. But anyways, those are some fun things coming out. We've come to the portion of the video where I promised you a little bit of a life/channel update. And I will try to make this brief. So basically, January was a very tough month for me. I had to do a lot of mom things for all of my kids, and it really pulled me in a lot of different directions. And so because of that, it caused all my chronic illnesses and my all of my kind of issues to just, I don't know, all flare up at the same time. And so for a large part for a large part of that time, I wasn't able to read. I definitely wasn't able to film. There was a week where I actually barely got out of bed. I only got out of bed to do like the bare minimum that I needed to do, and then I was right back in bed. And, you know, basically the majority of my brain space was just scrolling on Instagram, honestly, because that's about all I could handle. And so that led to me obviously not being up to filming videos. You know, it's one thing to set up for filming. It's not that big of a deal. Although, to be honest, this area was like a big mess. So I had to clean that up first, because I'm not going to show you my mess. You don't want to see my mess. But, you know, just setting up, and then on top of that, you know, being bubbly on camera is hard sometimes. And so how you're feeling really comes through, and I didn't want to be like a downer on camera. So I just didn't feel anything. I'm feeling a little bit better. I think I'm like a little sick. I think I picked up whatever is going around. There's like a cold or flu or something going around, and I have a little congestion. So if my voice sounds a little weird, that's why. But I am planning on doing a haul video very soon. What was going to be kind of a small haul is now going to be a bigger haul, because I have some books from a book outlet order that I placed in December, and then I still have books from that Roman shopping trip that I did back in November, I think. That might have even been October. If you missed that video, I will link it in the description box below. Even though it's not the holidays anymore, I don't know. Romans is an independent bookstore in LA, and I love it. It's one of my favorite bookstores. So if you're interested, go watch that. I also went to another independent bookstore for an indie author signing, and I bought a couple of books there. So I have those to share with you, and I have five L-Crate boxes that I have not opened, and so they've just been piling up, and I only get those once a month, which means I have 5 months worth of L-Crate boxes just sitting in my corner waiting to be unboxed. So that video is coming very soon. Also, I know I promised a 300 sub Q&A. I promise that is coming, but that one takes a little bit more brain space than, than a quick book review video and book haul. So that one might be a little bit longer, but as I start feeling better and start being able to film on camera a little bit more, those videos will be coming out. And one more thing, I have also been in the query trenches trying to query literary agents for the book that I wrote last year. So that's been definitely an experience. So if you're interested in hearing more about the kind of writing author process, let me know in the comments below, and I will put a video together explaining kind of what's been going on there. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel so that I know that you like videos like this, and so that you don't miss the next video that comes out, which will probably be the haul. It might be the Q&A. I'm not sure. It'll be one of those. But feel free to say hi in the comments below. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.